So what is Christian nationalism? The core beliefs of Christian nationalists are that the United States is divinely chosen by God, that the separation of church and state is a myth, and that biblical morality should dictate laws, for example, abortion bans, anti-LGBTQIA+ policies, the erasure of reproductive rights. I can't even get into climate change. Oh my goddess. So essentially that Christianity should dominate culture, education, and government, all based on the movement's false claim that America was founded, that the United States was founded as a Christian theocracy. And this is crucial. This is an important part of why Christian nationalism is such a threat. First of all, it's the direct political expression of this salvation-based dependency. It fuses religious identity with national identity, constructing a myth that America was founded as a Christian nation and must be saved from secularism, diversity, and progressive change. This belief distorts history, ignoring the founding fathers' commitment to religious freedom, and instead rewriting America's origins as divinely ordained. I'm sorry, what happened to the religious freedoms that the founding fathers openly celebrated and openly claimed was the reason they wrote the Constitution? What happened to the separation of church and state? I went to, again, this Bible-based private school that was teaching me all about the Bible, but it also taught me to be proud of my country because we believed in democracy and the separation of church and state, and that religious freedom was a core tenet that the founding fathers originally mandated. That's why the United States exists, is religious freedom. And so now Christian nationalists and the far right is trying to erase that history and rewrite it so that the United States appears as a theocracy where religion and policy are intertwined. Their religion and policy is intertwined. Yes, some of the founding fathers did believe and talk about a God. Some of them were Christian. Yes, the phrasing under God is in the original Pledge of Allegiance, but no, that does not mean we were established specifically as a theocracy. Modern Christian organizations, though, have turned politics into a holy crusade. Defending America equals defending Christianity to them. Okay? Now, all of this makes me think of the quote in, yeah, you guessed it, George Orwell's 1984. Who controls the past controls the future, and who controls the present controls the past. Rewriting the United States history should concern us, okay? I am like notoriously an optimist. I do not have a doom and gloom perspective 9 times out of 10. And I'm not trying to cause us to be afraid, but I think it is important to talk about these subjects. And also, I do think we will come out of the next phase in the United States history with better community, with more diversity. I think we will get to this progressive era. Another golden era is in the future. I think we're gonna have to go through some bullshit first, to be honest. And to start, we need to get informed about what is going on. And Christian nationalism is something that I'm very passionate about exploring and understanding because I think it is insidious. I think that there are forces at play that are using Christianity and using its followers to amass more and more power and more control. And as of January 20th, 2025, I simply cannot be silent about it anymore. I have been watching Christian nationalism grow for years, and a lot of us deconstructed ex-evangelical fundamentalist Christians have watched the rhetoric of the far right, and we have been seeing this rhetoric and we have spotted it from a mile away. And yes, I think that this is one of the major driving forces of fascism and the authoritarianism that we are starting to see by the time this episode is released, 3 or 4 of the new United States administration. And no, I simply will no longer be silent about it. I don't know. I am not a political expert, but I can tell you about evangelical fundamentalist Christianity and the power that they are simply trying to consolidate more and more and more. And it is something that we need to be concerned about, period, full stop. Because guess what? Unfortunately, Christian nationalism reframes political battles as moral and religious wars, right? And that is why evangelical leaders have been able to exert enormous influence over American policy, particularly on issues like abortion, LGBTQIA+ rights, and education, hello, book bans. By framing these issues as moral imperatives rather than political debates, they ensure that their followers view opposition as heretical rather than conceptual, right? Opponents are not just wrong, they're evil. They're being influenced by the principalities and powers of the air. And also, this is important to me. In this podcast, I think it's important that we are careful not to use the same rhetoric in return. As much as I will call out the systems of power keeping everyday Christians submissive and pliant, I want to be clear that everyday Christians are not my enemy. I think, if anything, everyday Christians are victims of these systems of power that are using their vulnerability and susceptibility for their own gain. You've been watching a clip from the Kayse Melone Show. For full episodes, subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, or Pocket Casts. And you can follow on TikTok, Instagram, or Blue Sky.